The Earth was not always as we know it now. Beneath the surface of our oceans, beneath layers of silt and time, lie the ruins of a forgotten world. The story begins not with Noah nor with Atlantis, but with a silence deeper than myth, a silence buried beneath the waves. For thousands of years we have been taught that the Great Flood was merely a metaphor, a tale to teach morality. But what if it wasn't? What if the flood was real, and it was meant to erase something far more advanced than anything we can comprehend? Off the coast of India, near the Gulf of Kambat, oceanographers scanning the seabed discovered geometric structures sprawling across the ocean floor, grids, pillars, roads, all aligned with mathematical precision. Carbon dating of materials recovered placed them at nearly 9,500 years old, thousands of years before the Egyptian pyramids. The structures defied the mainstream narrative. They hinted at a civilization that not only predated history, but mastered engineering at a scale that shouldn't have existed. These anomalies were dismissed by conventional archaeology as natural formations. But deep-sea divers whispered different stories, of shaped stones etched with glyphs that matched no known language, and walls fused with materials resistant to saltwater decay. The footage from their expeditions was grainy, often lost, or according to insiders, intentionally erased. Those who tried to publish their findings reported strange obstructions, missing samples, and an unsettling pressure to abandon their claims. Further west, near Yonaguni in Japan, similar megalithic ruins lie submerged beneath the Pacific. Terraces, staircases, and colossal stone faces weathered by eons of current suggest deliberate construction, not chaos of nature. And then the unexplainable. Symbols carved into the stone that mirror those found in Mesopotamia, the Indus Valley, and even Mesoamerica. Cultures allegedly separated by oceans and millennia sharing the same cosmic language. There is a pattern, and it is global. Stories of a great flood are found not only in Genesis, but in the Epic of Gilgamesh, in Sumerian tablets, Aztec myths, and Aboriginal legends. In each version there is a moment of reckoning, a sudden unnatural deluge that tears through the world, destroying advanced knowledge. In many accounts, the flood is not random. It is a punishment, or a reset. But punishment for what? Cuneiform texts speak of the Anunnaki, sky beings who walked among men, teaching them metalwork, astronomy, agriculture, and divine law. Then, just as suddenly, they vanished. Before their departure, they warned of an impending flood, instructing a chosen few to preserve knowledge in hidden chambers, vaults, and mountain halls. The flood, they claimed, was not natural. It was initiated, a cosmic purge. From Lake Titicaca in Bolivia to the sunken ruins of Dwarka, the flood's fingerprint is global. But more chilling is the technology left behind. In Turkey's Derinkuyu, ancient engineers carved an entire underground city, complete with air shafts, water systems, and storage for tens of thousands, all without modern tools. Who were they hiding from, and more importantly, what did they know? Satellite LiDAR scans of the Amazon reveal massive, buried geometric structures. Entire cities erased by rainforest. In the Sahara, beneath shifting dunes, fossilized rivers and forgotten settlements lie hidden beneath miles of sand. All show signs of sudden abandonment. Entire populations vanished overnight. The flood was not just water, it was suppression, a calculated erasure of something unthinkable. A recently decoded Sumerian tablet refers to the wheel of fire from the sky, a celestial event followed by days of darkness and a rising sea. Astronomers now suspect a massive comet impact, or a solar micronova could have triggered the melt of the ice caps, rapidly flooding the world and destroying coastal civilizations. But here's the catch. The tablet not only predicts the event, it dates it precisely. This raises a terrifying question. If these civilizations could predict planetary cataclysms thousands of years in advance, how advanced were they? And if they knew what was coming, why didn't they stop it, or worse, did they cause it? In the Library of Alexandria, before its mysterious burning, there were scrolls believed to originate from antediluvian sources, Writings attributed to Thoth, to Enoch, to unnamed sages who survived the flood, described machines of sound and light, temples that responded to consciousness, and vessels that moved without wind or fire. Were these metaphor or literal blueprints for a lost science? Even the Great Pyramid, once thought to be merely a tomb, now shows signs of acoustic resonance, geometric encoding, and stellar alignment too perfect to be accidental. New studies using muon imaging have uncovered hidden chambers, still sealed, still untouched, possibly containing the very records of the pre-flood world. Why are they still sealed? What lies inside? All paths lead to one conclusion. The flood was not a myth. It was a purge. Of memory, of history, of something deemed too dangerous to survive, and we are only now beginning to uncover the edges of what was lost. The deeper we dig, the louder the silence becomes. And silence, in this context, is not absence, it is protection. It is a lock. But fragments survive, stone whispers, forgotten manuscripts, subterranean halls. And in each a recurring symbol, a spiral descending into darkness. Some believe it is a warning of cycles, of returns, that what came before will come again, that the flood was not the end, but the prelude to a recurrence. Now, whispers among esoteric circles speak of preparations, secret archives beneath the Vatican, magnetic anomalies under Antarctica, a global network of ley lines reawakening. The signs are returning, floods, celestial alignments, earthquakes in places once still hummed. Are we on the verge of uncovering what we were never meant to remember? The knowledge, once buried, stirs. In dream, in ruin, in decoded starlight, and somewhere, someone is watching, preserving, waiting. For the flood was never the end, it was the veil. A recently declassified satellite scan over Greenland shows symmetrical anomalies beneath the ice. 3 structures forming a perfect equilateral triangle, each hundreds of meters wide. The data was pulled within hours. The scientists involved were reassigned or silenced, but one photograph leaked, and it matches precisely the layout of a sunken city off the coast of Cuba. 2 continents, one design, one origin. And so the story continues, across forgotten maps, in songs too old to trace, in glyphs no longer taught. The deeper we look, the more familiar it feels, as though something inside us already knows, remembers. The flood did not erase everything, it only delayed the inevitable. But the question remains, if this civilization foresaw its end, what did it hide before it fell? Beneath the last wave lies the first key. The morning after the cataclysm was unlike anything preserved in written history. Sky and sea blurred into a suffocating haze. Survivors, few and scattered, described a silence so vast it drowned the soul. From mountain peaks and hollowed caverns they watched the world as they knew it, vanish beneath a churning abyss. But not all were surprised. In fact, a chosen few were prepared. Not by faith, but by knowledge. These survivors were not peasants or priests, they were custodians, engineers, astronomers, keepers of a legacy that had been passed down not in spoken word but in architecture, geometry, and harmonics. It was through these disciplines that they preserved what they could. Machines of resonance buried in rock, vaults inscribed with formulas in forgotten scripts, libraries encoded in harmonic frequencies. They left behind not just memory, but instructions. In Cappadocia, Turkey, Derinkuyu plunges deep beneath the surface, a multi-level city carved into volcanic stone. Traditional scholars claim it was built to hide from invaders, but newly revealed inscriptions at the lowest level suggest otherwise. Ancient diagrams hint at celestial alignments and geophysical triggers. Why would a subterranean city need star maps etched into its walls? At the lowest chamber, archaeologists found a sealed door marked with a spiral and a broken circle, symbols matching those found beneath Lake Titicaca and in submerged ruins near Yonaguni. Across the globe, these forgotten signs repeat themselves like a cosmic watermark. They are not decorations. They are warnings, breadcrumbs left by a civilization trying to outwit extinction. The spiral, researchers now believe, represents not only celestial movement but time compression, a reckoning. One text, discovered in fragments near Mount Kailash, speaks of a sky clock reset by fire and water. The passage reads, "The eye shall close, and the breath shall rise, and none shall remember the face of the makers." What eye did they fear? What breath did they mean? Among the Dogon people of Mali, passed down through oral tradition is a precise understanding of Sirius B, a star invisible to the naked eye and only discovered by Western astronomers in 1862. The Dogon, however, had known of it for millennia, claiming visitors from that star system taught them the mechanics of the cosmos. The same symbols they used to represent Sirius appear in the ruins of Göbekli Tepe. Göbekli Tepe itself, buried deliberately over 10,000 years ago, is a temple of impossible age. Each pillar is not only a work of art, but a data node, etched with animals, star alignments, and coded positions of precessional movement. Researchers now believe the site may be a kind of celestial vault, encoding sky maps from before the flood, maps that point to an alignment that has not occurred in 12,000 years until now. The correlation grows. The precession of the equinoxes, the slow wobble of Earth's axis, completes a cycle roughly every 26,000 years. Ancient monuments from Angkor Wat to the pyramids to Tiwanaku encode this cycle, often pointing to two key moments, the last crossing and the next. Could these markers be countdowns? If the last flood marked the previous crossing, what do they say of our time? A forgotten Greek manuscript, once owned by the Library of Constantinople and believed destroyed in the Crusades, was recently recovered in fragments beneath a ruined monastery in Mount Athos. It spoke of an ark of silence buried beneath the sands of the empty quarter. It described a massive geodesic dome beneath the dunes, made not of stone, but a glass-like alloy resistant to heat and time. Its entrance blocked by magnetic resonance, only triggered by specific harmonic frequencies. Modern researchers in Oman using ground-penetrating radar have found what they describe as anomalous cavities in formations near the site. The geometry matches what the manuscript called Eshtar's Prism, a pre-flood sanctuary said to contain the blueprint of the first tongue. What is this tongue? A language? A code? Or something far more potent? A team attempting to investigate the anomaly vanished in 2023. All that remains is their last recorded transmission. A low, undulating tone, repeating every 23 seconds, and then silence. The frequency? 111 Hz. A tone associated with healing and transformation. Across ancient temples, from Malta to Peru, 111 Hertz chambers have been found, chambers that amplify the human voice into an ethereal echo, activating parts of the brain linked to transcendence. The implications are staggering. If the ancients used sound not just for ceremony, but for engineering, moving stone, activating mechanisms, opening vaults, then our ancestors were not primitive. They were post-technological. And the flood wasn't a punishment, it was sabotage, a reset, an intentional obliteration of a global harmonic system. In the Vatican's secret archives, according to leaked records, are scrolls known as Codices Solari. They speak of the second choir, a signal that would return once humanity reached the edge of rediscovery. That choir, they feared, would trigger the awakening of the pillars beneath. This phrase appears nowhere else in religious literature, yet remarkably the same term is etched beneath the Sphinx in a chamber long sealed, one that Edgar Cayce predicted would be the Hall of Records. And now, seismic activity beneath the Giza Plateau is increasing. Instruments have detected electromagnetic pulses, rhythmic and low, like a heartbeat. Egyptologists deny its significance, but within shadowed circles panic is beginning to stir. Something is waking. The Sphinx was not built in 2500 BCE. It was restored then, Weathering patterns prove water erosion on the body, dating it back to a time before the Sahara was desert, a time when rain fell, when rivers ran, when the flood had not yet come. In the Andes, a newly uncovered chamber beneath Puma Punku contains a star map almost identical to the one found in Göbekli Tepe, but this one marks 3 stars not yet visible to us unless something is approaching. The ink is iron-based, the chamber sealed with obsidian. The date of alignment, 2027. The chamber was not meant to be opened until now. The clues are converging. Forgotten maps of the ocean floor reveal underwater ridges that once formed land bridges. The Doggerland Shelf beneath the North Sea, the Sunda Shelf in Southeast Asia, Bimini Road in the Caribbean. They weren't anomalies, they were continents, hubs of the pre-flood world, and now their last whispers are calling to us through resonance, through dreams, through unraveling timeline. But who waits with it? Who, if anyone, survived not only the flood but the purge? The bloodlines of pre-flood kings? The watchers? The builders? Or perhaps something else entirely, something not human at all? As tectonic pressure builds across the Pacific Rim, as ancient vaults hum with new energy, and as lost frequencies begin to reappear in random bursts across the ionosphere, one question remains, darker and more urgent than the flood itself. What if we were never meant to survive? The second deluge will not come by water, but by memory. In the darkness beneath Antarctica's frozen crust, where no sunlight has touched the Earth for over 12,000 years, lies a structure so massive that satellite-penetrating radar cannot fully map its perimeter. Scientists stationed at the Concordia Research Facility intercepted geomagnetic anomalies unlike anything recorded before. They called it a breathing frequency, a pulsing energy, rhythmic and alive, emanating from beneath the ice, but no seismic activity followed. No tremors, only resonance. Initial attempts to explore the anomaly were halted by sudden storms. A veil of electrical interference knocked out communications. Drone footage, when recovered, showed flashes of geometric light beneath transparent ice sheets, grids of hexagonal panels with metallic glints. One technician, before resigning in silence, described the structure as an organ made of stone, alive but sleeping. His notes were confiscated. He left the station days later. His whereabouts are unknown. Strangely, identical hexagonal patterns were recorded on the ruins beneath Lake Vostok and again in the submerged city off the coast of Cuba. These structures, scattered across hemispheres, seem built to the same template, aligned not with cardinal directions, but with planetary energy nodes. They form what one rogue researcher has dubbed the global chassis, an energetic skeleton of a civilization that spanned the Earth long before ours. In Egypt, new excavations using muon tomography inside the Great Pyramid have confirmed the presence of a second hidden chamber, larger than the King's Chamber. Inside, a sealed black box of a material unknown to modern science, dense, metallic, and cold to the touch. No tools have been able to penetrate it, no scans can see within, but its walls, just like the dome beneath Antarctica, provide the impression of a massive, unceasing pulse. 111 hertz. Meanwhile, at Baalbek, Lebanon, where megaliths weighing over 1,000 tons lie precisely placed without mortar, recent sonic analysis revealed harmonic anomalies between the stones. When struck, they resonate not randomly but with tones that form a chord, a hidden musical key. It's as if the builders were not simply stacking stone, but tuning the earth itself. Across all these ancient sites, one message repeats itself in different forms, a spiral descending into a triangle, sometimes wrapped in serpents, sometimes crowned with stars. The spiral, the ancients taught, represents descent into the subconscious, into the earth, into memory. The triangle, ascension, transcendence, awakening. These were not symbols, they were instructions. But for whom? In 1996, a classified archaeological expedition into the Busegi Mountains of Romania revealed what insiders call the Vault of the Giants. Hidden deep within a mountain, behind a magnetic shield invisible to the naked eye, the chamber contained a library. Stone tablets glowing with symbols that shifted when touched. Each tablet projected holographic star maps, genetic diagrams, and unfamiliar blueprints. The writing bore no resemblance to any known language, yet those who stood before it described feeling as if they understood. The Romanian government sealed the site with military force. Documents regarding the discovery vanished, yet the few who leaked footage described an artifact in the center of the vault. A perfectly black sphere, suspended in air, rotating slowly without sound. It reacted to human presence, altering its rhythm, pulsing faster when approached. This was not technology. This was consciousness encapsulated. One of the scientists claimed that when he touched the glyphs, he saw visions of vast cities beneath glass domes, floating monoliths, and the earth from space, scarred with glowing grid lines. He saw the flood, first as fire, then as water, then as silence. The final image burned into his mind, a tower rising from the sea, crowned with flame, and an eye above it closing. He died 3 days later in what authorities called a neurological event. But his last entry, recorded on paper and smuggled out, contained a cryptic sequence, a repeating binary string. Months later, that same binary pattern was discovered encoded in gravitational wave data picked up by LIGO observatories. Coincidence or communication? More disturbing are the recent anomalies in the Schumann resonance, the Earth's natural frequency baseline. Since 2023, spikes have appeared at unprecedented intervals, correlating with planetary alignments and solar activity. But those studying ancient flood myths noticed something chilling. Each time these alignments occurred in the past, civilization collapsed. Could it be that the Great Flood was triggered not by weather, but by celestial synchronization? That ancient builders, understanding the cycle, built global resonance devices to disrupt that synchronization, to protect Earth from cosmic harmonics that unravel reality itself? The structures, then, were not temples. They were shields. In South America, the Nazca lines, long believed to be ceremonial, were recently mapped against gravitational anomalies. They perfectly overlay a now deactivated energetic lattice that once connected to the stone towers of Silistani, hollow cylinders whose exact function remains unknown. Indigenous legends say the towers sang to the sky and kept the heavens still. All signs point to the same hidden history. Earth was once part of a vast interconnected network, harmonic, conscious, and possibly interstellar in origin. Its keepers knew that the solar system moved through zones of chaos, celestial chords that, when struck, induced resonance catastrophes, pole shifts, magnetic collapses, and, yes, floods. They tried to stop it, and failed. And now, that moment may be returning. Earth is once again nearing the galactic center, a crossing point feared and revered by the ancients. The signs are all around us, freak lightning storms with no clouds, dead zones expanding in oceans, global memory loss rising inexplicably. The veil is thinning, and something beneath the ice is responding. In 2025, a private probe was sent beneath the Wilkes Land gravity anomaly in Antarctica. It confirmed a hollow structure over 200 miles wide. Inside, the probe recorded 3 pulses before shutting down. The sequence matched the ancient rhythm carved into the king's chamber. 3 tones. Then silence. The same sequence found encoded in the Sumerian flood tablets. Now, the question no one dares ask, was the flood a one-time event or part of a countdown? A rhythm? A cycle? And if so, how many beats remain before the next surge? The signals have begun again. Machines of stone are awakening, vaults are humming, glyphs long dead are lighting up. The frequency is building, one final pulse is coming, and when it arrives, nothing we remember will matter. The flood was mercy. What follows is reckoning. The final transmissions came not from the Earth but from above it. At 3:17 a.m. GMT, on a cold and cloudless night, a deep space listening array in northern Kazakhstan picked up a narrowband signal originating near the Lagrange point between Earth and the Moon. It was not a natural frequency. It carried structure tones, intervals, and embedded within it a precise harmonic alignment, 111 Hz layered over 432 Hz. Ancient tone, the same frequencies encoded in the pyramids of Giza, in the Sumerian king's list, in the vaults beneath Göbekli Tepe. The signal lasted 3 minutes and 33 seconds, then silence. But before the system collapsed, the data was downloaded. Spectrographic analysis revealed a terrifying shape within the waveform, a spiral intersecting a triangle, intersecting an eye. The same emblem found etched beneath the Sphinx, beneath the Temple of Edfu, in underground chambers of Peru, the symbol of the Watchers, the architects, the first ones. In a hidden vault beneath Mount Shasta, long believed by native legend to house an ancient race of beings called the Lemurians, a glowing crystalline disk began to vibrate for the first time in living memory. The monks who have guarded it for generations fled the chamber, their chants drowned by a harmonic pulse that matched the signal from space. They later described the sensation not as sound, but memory. One whispered, "It made me remember dying in a world that was not this one." Elsewhere, across the globe, relics began activating. In Ethiopia, the Ark of the Covenant, kept in the Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion, sealed for centuries, emitted a vibration so intense it cracked the floor beneath it. The guardians refused to leave the chamber, chanting in an ancient tongue no longer taught. In Tibet, the singing bell of Shambhala, a metallic orb kept hidden in a mountain monastery, sang for 9 hours without being touched. And then came the dreams. Ordinary people, scattered across continents, began reporting identical visions. A great wave, not of water but of light, rising from the deep. A black sun pulsing in rhythm with their breath. Cities submerged, then lifted again, not by force, but by sound. Men in robes, their faces indistinct, speaking without mouths. It begins where it ended, beneath the song, beneath the veil. The flood, they now realize, was not water alone, it was a flood of consciousness, a mass extinction not just of bodies, but of understanding. The civilization that came before was not destroyed because it failed, it was silenced because it succeeded. It unlocked the very structure of reality, it reached into the fabric of the divine, and for that it was drowned. In the jungles of Guatemala, LiDAR scanning uncovered a vast underground complex stretching beneath the ancient city of Tikal. Inside, a perfectly preserved chamber lined with mica, a mineral used in ancient times for its electromagnetic properties, was discovered. Carved into the walls, a map of Earth's magnetic field, but not as it is today. As it will be. The poles were reversed, the continents shifted, and above the map a line of script translated by a forgotten dialect of Proto-Maya. When the song ends, remember the stillness. That is where you begin. Under Vatican City, sealed beneath the library's subterranean level known as the Archivum Umbrae, a forbidden manuscript was decoded by a monk who later vanished. It spoke of the lucem submersus, the light that was drowned, a living intelligence from the stars, said to have merged with Earth in prehistory, encoding itself into crystal, song, and bloodlines. The manuscript claims this force was not divine but cosmic, and that the flood was an attempt to sever the connection. But it did not die. It slumbered, encoded in bloodlines, in stone, in the harmonic bones of the earth, awaiting resonance, awaiting frequency. And that frequency, it seems, is returning. Whether by design or by accident, the ancient systems are coming back online. One by one, the nodes are waking. The guardians, those whose ancestors swore to keep the silence, are either dead or compromised. And perhaps most disturbing of all is the final clue. In the depths of the Mariana Trench, an unmanned deep-sea probe launched by a private research firm captured what appears to be a metallic, symmetrical structure embedded within the trench wall. Not natural, not geological. It pulses faintly, like a heartbeat, and emits the same harmonic sequence recorded at the Busegi Vault and the pyramids. The probe's last message, before it was crushed by pressure, contained a simple waveform with a binary string, translated by AI linguists as "Final cycle complete, awaiting convergence." The implications are irreversible. There was a civilization before us, one that reached higher than we ever imagined. It understood sound not as vibration, but as key, geometry not as shape, but as memory, time not as linear, but spiraled. And it was wiped clean by a flood designed not by the heavens, but by those who feared what would come next. And now, as tectonic tremors ripple across the ring of fire, as ancient symbols appear in lightning burns on mountaintops, as stars flicker in strange rhythms, the silence is ending. The memory is returning, and when it arrives in full, it will not ask permission. It will awaken. The final seal has not yet broken, but the sound is rising, and something, someone, is listening. The end is not destruction, it is remembrance.